Hey everybody, hope you all have an excellent day. Today's autistic explanation video is going to be a little bit different than some of my previous ones. Before, I've often focused on things that you shouldn't say to autistic people. And while trying to eliminate negativity is important, it's only half the battle. We have to try to cultivate positivity in order to truly make things better for autistic people such as myself. And so, with that being said, here are 5 things you can do to help autistic people. Number 1, ask if we would like to hang out sometimes. Now, there's a stereotype that autistic people are loners or just incapable of socializing properly, but that simply isn't true. Many times, autistic people, we can socialize very well. It's just there have been many cases where autistic people have been deceived or abused by non-autistic people because either their intentions were impure or because we misinterpreted what the other person's intentions were. So we want to be friends. And so in many cases, some autistic people are traumatized by past socializing experiences, so we might not be so willing to try to start friendships. So we'd appreciate it if you would be willing to make the first move, but when you do this, please make sure that you actually want to be the autistic person's friend. Don't do it just to be, the good guy or to make yourself feel good. Make sure you actually want to be our friend. Number 2, you can ask us if we have any sensory triggers. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, a sensory trigger is any form of incoming sensory information like a certain texture, a certain sound, or a certain level of bright lights, which can cause an autistic person's nervous system to become overwhelmed and possibly lead to a meltdown. Now, by asking what a person's sensory triggers are, this can be used to plan social events that have little to no chance of causing meltdowns, and it's also useful to help stop meltdowns when they occur. And by asking this, it shows that you have that person's well-being in mind, and that's very important for many autistic people. Number 3, let us make our own decisions. Many times throughout history, many disabled people have been viewed as incapable of making their own decisions and thought that they had to be coddled and everything had to be done for them. This is a form of ableism known as infantilization. For anyone out there who doesn't know, infantilization is what happens when a non-disabled person treats a disabled person well, but views them as a child instead of viewing them as full-grown adults. Like, here's a perfect example. I remember seeing this on the news a few years ago, and I'll include a link to the story in the description and the comments. There was a couple in New York State who both of them had Down syndrome, and after they had been dating for 5 years, they decided they wanted to get married. But lots of people in the community were against it because they had the mindset it was like 2 children getting married instead of 2 full-grown adults. Now, while many people with Down syndrome typically have an IQ comparable to an 8 or 9-year-old child, they're not overgrown children, okay? They're still full-grown adults with the right to make their own decisions. And it turns out they did get married, and they were married for 25 years until, unfortunately, the husband ended up passing away. Now, I bring this up because it shows that many disabled people are capable of making good decisions. Now, some people with disabilities are so impacted by, let's say, an extreme form of intellectual disability that they literally cannot make their own decisions. They need full-time care. That does happen. I'm not going to deny that. But in general, many disabled people and many autistic people, we are capable of making good decisions. So if you're non-autistic and you know an autistic person who's trying to make an important decision, please support that decision. Now, you can offer guidance, of course, because I think everybody needs guidance, but please don't offer control. Don't try to say what the autistic person should or should not do. Respect the person's choices. Number 4, support our special interests. Now, in many cases, autistic people tend to have very noticeable special interests. It's possible that these interests can lead to very rich and successful careers. Unfortunately, mainstream society has provided a few roadblocks regarding autistic interests. For example, Jim Sinclair, an autistic self-advocate, has expressed their frustration when it comes to the double standard that autistic people face. You see, when autistic people, when we show our special interests, our interests is often viewed as pathological or obsessive, and that we're told we need to stop doing that. However, when a neurotypical person focuses on something and accomplishes something, they are praised. So why should autistic people be shunned for their interests and neurotypical people be praised? They shouldn't. It makes no sense. As long as someone's interest isn't hurting themselves or hurting anyone else, then I say they should be supported, because it's been shown that accomplishing goals and following your interests makes people happy. And that goes for autistic people too. And number 5, value our uniqueness. Since autistic people, we tend to communicate in a different way than our non-autistic counterparts, we're often viewed as weird or strange or wrong. But just because we communicate differently and think differently does not make it wrong. Just like being neurotypical is not right or correct. Both of those are just variations of what it means to be human. Like, here's an example. If you're a member of a culture who only speaks Spanish and you move into a neighborhood which only speaks English, that doesn't make you wrong for speaking Spanish, just because it's more common for everyone else to speak English in that community. Autism and other forms of neurodiversity are the same thing. They're just differences. They're not wrong. They're not deficits. And it's been shown that people who were disabled or neurodivergent have done great things to contribute to society. For example, Albert Einstein, Beethoven, Michelangelo, Nikola Tesla, Dr. Temple Grandin, and countless other people have thought differently and acted differently than the norm. I mean, how much do you really accomplish by going with the flow? In the grand scheme of things, people who have been different have been the ones who make the biggest difference. And being different is nothing bad or to be ashamed of. Variety is what makes humanity work. Just like how a variety of species helps make the planet work. So if you're non-autistic and you notice your autistic person thinks about things a little differently, please value their unique perspective and try to understand it. And please don't insist that your non-autistic way is the right way. And with that being said, those are 5 things that you can do to help autistic people. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you want me to make more autism-related content, let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!